Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Anime Theory, where we're getting in on some of that hot Death Note month action and making some theories for your viewing pleasure. And before I start, a warning. This video may contain mild spoilers for Death Note. Nothing too huge, but some scenes and moments will be spoiled. If you haven't, go watch Death Note. I'm serious, it's amazing. Anyways, in the last theory, we talked about the fate of light. You guys were so excited for it and asked me to talk about several extra aspects, so I'm planning to do a kind of part 2 for it later. We'll be getting to that, but today we discuss a completely different topic. Now, a common thing everyone brings up when arguing that Light wasn't fighting for justice is that he killed non-criminals. Basically, by killing the likes of Naomi and L, he was actively going against his ideals. And while I don't have much to say about Naomi, I can say that the L point would be a good one, if it was true. In fact, Light had full reason to kill off L. Light kills criminals, and L, he's no knight in shining armor. And before you L fangirls try to tear me apart for daring to say this, 2 things. 1, L's mine, so keep your hands off of him. 2, do it after the video, because we got some theorizing to do. Anyways, let's dig right into the theory. So, let's look at the many ways that L has broken the law. First, I want to bring attention to one of the coolest scenes in Death Note, the one involving a man named Lind L. Taylor. This guy was commanded by L to go on live TV and pose as him so L could see Kira's method of killing. And while it obviously made for an epic duping of Kira, think about what just transpired. Firstly, yes, this guy was on death row, but that in and of itself is an issue. The way the death penalty is used in Japan is a bit strange. In essence, a criminal needs to go through all appeals before they can be executed, which can take literal years. You aren't allowed to kill a criminal before all the appeals are met, and the chances that L manages to find a criminal out of appeals on death row is slim at best. While the waiting period for the criminal to wear out their appeals is huge, the wait afterwards between the final appeal and death is tiny. It's almost right away, in fact. So, not only is the time slot minuscule, but the amount of criminals on death row in Japan isn't exactly large either. At its largest, death row usually encompasses less than 100 people at a time, as Japan's crime rate is ironically extremely low. And with Light killing off a lot of the more notorious criminals right off the bat, that number was likely even smaller. And heck, there's a process that needs to be gone through to obtain a warrant to have the prisoner killed, and chances are L didn't go through that. Heck, there wasn't even a guarantee that Kira would even kill him since Lind was impersonating L, who Kira would have assumed was innocent. Even the way he died was against the law in Japan. Prisoners need to be executed in a detention center away from the public eye. And this isn't exactly a detention center. If you think this is it, oh boy, get ready, because there's much more. So, remember that spying L did? It was the event that forced Light to take a potato chip and eat it. You know, among other things. Well, firstly, there's a question about whether this was legal to begin with. The way the scenes portray it, it seems like L didn't get permission from the police to spy on Light's household. If he had gotten permission, there was a chance Kira himself could find out. L knew he had access to police files, but he knew little of how much access he had, so he likely wouldn't risk tipping off what could potentially be Kira. But I see what you're saying. Maybe he did somehow get a warrant to spy on them. Okay, sure, maybe the police allowed the spying. It's not entirely impossible. You know when it would be impossible though? Perhaps if you weren't with the police or you weren't able to tell them you're doing it to begin with. Yeah, remember when L spied on the Yotsuba group? Yeah, try explaining that one, L. Also, recall the one scene after L meets Misa. In an effort to gain access to her cell phone, he reaches down and grabs her butt. Sure, he was aiming for the cell phone, but regardless, he still ended up grabbing a handful of something else instead. And yeah, if you're wondering, sexual harassment is against the law. Man, these crimes just keep piling up larger and larger, don't they, L? And now we get to what is L's likely most dangerous and most problematic crime. At one point, L manages to find some mild evidence pertaining to Misa potentially being the second Kira. He captures her and confines her in an area where he tortures her for quite a while in an attempt to receive information about Kira. And here's where stuff gets really crazy. In Japan, a person is only able to be confined for a period of 72 hours once arrested, and this is only after being interviewed and going through several procedures. Now, firstly, considering L is immediately able to obtain Misa for his torture, it's obvious that she likely never went through the procedures required. So already, there's several breaches of human rights going on, and all due to L. Also remember how I mentioned 72 hours? Yeah, she was kept in there for much longer than 72 hours. We know that for a fact. Japan allows for 2 very short extensions to the confinement, up to 10 days. But considering the amount of time she's kept in there, they long past that limit. In fact, L seems completely unworried about the limit, and Light and Misa are only allowed to leave after he decides, not the police. What's even crazier is what this implies. Basically, chances are that the procedures were not legal. In fact, considering the breaches of human rights and the obvious problems with holding Misa at a place that is certainly not under police control, i.e. already illegal to begin with, it's obvious that what this amounts to is pretty much kidnapping. There are too many breaches of rights and too much breaking procedure. Even Japan's most notorious criminals aren't treated like this. And remember, just beyond being kidnapped, Misa was tortured for weeks. We don't get too much detail, but just saying that it's torture means it likely breaks all conventions of human rights. And who was the exact individual forcing said torture to occur? Well, it was L, of course, our friend who may just be receiving some jail time soon. And the final nail in the coffin for L, the thing that shows that this abduction definitely was illegal, involves what happens after she's let out. Considering that she was allowed to roam basically free afterwards, shows that there was an obvious lack of evidence. Considering the lack of any evidence presented and the length of time L tortured her for information, it's obvious that he didn't have enough evidence to convict her to begin with. In essence, she couldn't have been held there if there was no evidence worth continuing the investigation for. Chances are, L kidnapped her and tortured her without the ability to do so to begin with. And that's just one more count on the L crime list. And this is just in the anime, mind you. Considering he's the world's best detective, and considering his relative uncaring attitude while committing these crimes, it's obvious that he's done it all before. So the amount of crimes he's committed is likely beyond even this list. Improper execution and potential cause of murder, spying, sexual harassment, kidnapping, torture, all of these crimes are ones that our hero L has committed in his quest to defeat Kira. L isn't just a mild criminal, he has several crimes that could easily put him away. So, when Kira plans to enact justice on the supposedly innocent L, just remember, this man isn't quite as innocent as we'd all like to believe. But hey, that's just my crazy theory. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And hey, if you enjoyed the video, why not give a like, or perhaps subscribe if you want to. Also be sure to check out my other theories, and maybe even my second channel if you want to. Well, anyways, see you later.